Hello my dear viewers, today we're gonna create a Node.js app using Node.js, for sure, Express and Mongoose with MongoDB. It wasn't easy for me to do because it was just the second time when I was trying to create an API, but I'm trying to grow together with you. So please take a look and make sure that you like this video and support me by click subscribe, like and leave a comment. Let's start working with Node.js. It's gonna be a difficult time for me because I'm still newbie with it, but as far as I know, Node.js using to build some APIs on backend side using JavaScript. It's built on V8 engine on Chrome. So also it's has usage as language to build some chatbots for Telegram or something else. So let's take a look what we have. You can download the Node.js from their website, nodejs.org. Also, I would recommend to use NVM package for Node. For example, you can use different versions, depend on what needs, and you can easily manipulate with them. So let's start. First of all, what we need to init our project. Here we just click yes, 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 and etc. Another one thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna create app.js file that's gonna use our Node API. It's gonna be our main file. So you can check if you want, is it everything okay, by simply run some commands. Hi Node. And to run this file using Node, you can do like node app.js, as you can see, printing in your console. Also, you can do some math here if you need it. And we will need to, in this video, few packages. One of them is, as you can see from title of the video, it's gonna be Express, and another one Mongoose, which we use to work with MongoDB database. It's gonna install in our package.json as dependencies, correct? And let's try to create our first web server. To do it, we need to import our Express framework by adding variable for Express, and importing is using require. Then we need to define the variable for our app. It's going to be app, and here we just call our Express framework, and by adding app listen function, we're gonna start our server. And it has listen function has two arguments. One of them is the port. For example, for local you can use 3000, but if you want to deploy it or something, you need to define the environment variables and simply pass it to your listen function. And the second argument is gonna be our callback function, in which we just gonna simply check that our server is running. And to check it, we need to again run our app.js file, and in web browser you can check that on localhost 3000 port, you will see your web server. It's gonna show some error message because you don't define any API request to retrieve something. So usually browser URL accepts only GET requests. So if you do this call, it thinks that you're trying to do GET by this URL, but still you have nothing. So let's start working on our app. Also, you might not like to use require, etc., etc. And Node.js has another way to do it. Simply to do it to import modules in another way using import from ES6 like this. Import express from. It's not gonna work, as you can see. Can not use import statement outside a module. To use this way, you need simply to add in your package JSON type module, and after this it's gonna be possible to use another way of importing things. If you prefer this more instead of require, please use. I like this way more because it's remind me about Angular. So enjoy. Let's create a simple endpoint. So a RESTful API has 4 major type of requests. One of them is GET, that return the data based on your request. Another one, POST, that usually add some information. The third one is PUT, by which you're gonna update some data. And the fourth, it's delete. So from the name of it, you could understand that it's delete some data. So let's create some simple endpoint using get. To define it has like two arguments. One of them is a URL, for example, books, and another one is callback function that has 3 major arguments. One of them is request that has a body of your request that you're doing. The second one is response that returns to the user by your server. And the third one is next. As far as I know, it's usually used for some middlewares to check, for example, to add login or something. So in our case, we just needed here request and response. And by this, we're gonna request, we're gonna send, let's add here console log. Get books, and we need to send back some data. And to do it, you use send function, and body of this gonna be your information, dummy data, for example. Let's check out what we have. Also, we need to rerun our app. And here, if we type books, we can see get books console log. And here we send from our server like dummy data. Also, as you can see, it's not useful to rerun our app each time when we add something. So for these purposes, we have npm package called nodemon. It's simplify work with node.js. Mistype what I have done nodemon. It simplify working with Node by restarting your app each time as you did some changes. You simply can run it from here, npm run nodemon and the name of your file. Something goes wrong. I just need nodemon. That's strange. But another way to run it is just add to your package.json the command. For example, it's gonna be dev, and by this you can add nodemon app command, and after this npm run dev, and as you can see the app is running. We reload. The next our step is gonna be connect Mongoose to our web server. To do it, we're gonna use cloud on MongoDB, and we already installed npm package and express. Also, cloud MongoDB is free for your own projects, so please use it or find another project website to use for MongoDB database. I assume a lot of them, but I prefer to use this one for my own projects. And it's really easy to do. You just register here on their site and then create your project and build a cluster. And as you can see here, it's totally free. So we choose Amazon. I'm in Europe, so I choose Frankfurt here. And here is everything fine. Create cluster. That's what we need. So they doing some of their processes, but we are gonna try to create a function to connect to their cluster. To do it, we're gonna create a function. The name of it start would be without parameters, and after that we're gonna call it immediately to start our app. The next thing here, we're gonna use try catch. and here catch error. Here we just simply print to console if something happened, so we will be able to see what is gonna run. And in try, we do first of all we need to import Mongoose from Mongoose. Then we here trying to do Mongoose connect, and it has few parameters. Let's see how it's going on. Yeah, almost there. So here we'll have our URL for connection and also some options. Some of them is use new URL parser, set it to true. As far as I know, there some new technology and they recommend by default to use this. Also, you can find out all the information that you need about connection, etc. on their official Mongoose.js website. Another one, use find and modify, set it to false. And the third one, use unified fight topology, set it to true. Also the new thing on their side. And here we're gonna do async await, because this return promise. So async, and here await, like this. And we just need to get our URL. Yeah, it's here. So click connect to your cluster. Here add API address, so it's not blocking you. Some test data, admin, for example. I'm gonna use this one, create database user. We don't need to save anything. And here connect your application, and Mongo provide for node.js, choose here version and driver, then copy the URL and put it here, that of our. Also use brackets, and here database name books, and admin, and password test. That's what we need. Now we're gonna try to connect to our database. Also, do not forget to put listen inside this function. So once your MongoDB connection will be success, you're gonna start an app here run dep. Check. Yeah, sometime it's needed to run it. And here we are. The next our step will be to create another endpoint. It's gonna be post this time. Also, it will have the same URL name. And post usually used to create a record in your database, but by RESTful API, but someone used it even to delete data, but we not gonna do it. Here we have the same request and response body. And another thing that we need to do is to create schema and model for our MongoDB. For this, we're gonna create model folder. If you have a huge API, or not huge, but to simplify usage of it, it's easier to just create it in on node.js. Well, what am I gonna do? Simply in another folder to simplify usage of it. Here we need to import two things. One of them is schema and another model from Mongoose package, like this. Then we're gonna create our schema. Schema, it's a description of your properties in your model. So for example, we have a book schema. It's gonna be new schema. And here you simply can define what properties do you have, like almost like JSON and objects. So we're gonna have title. Type of this is gonna be string, and this field is gonna be required. And we're gonna add a few more fields here. Author is also string and true, and year. I think it will be enough for us. And here, number. It's just a test, so nothing test up email, so nothing. And we need to use it. We need to export our schema, but we're gonna do it. And here we export this as a model of our book. To do it, we simply pass the name of model and schema book, like this. And here in our post, we need to also import our book model from books model books, like this. And then in post, we're gonna check if our request body, so your request has a body where you send your title, your model, especially for post request. And if it's not there, we just response send status 400. But if our body for book is here, we're gonna define a model, new book, for example, and here we create a new instance of our book by simply passing our request body. And then we're gonna create another one, result, in which we're gonna await when our book is saved, new book. Save. It's a save method. It's an Mongoose method for our model. It has various methods to do. We're gonna take a look on more of them a bit later, but for now, for us, it's enough just to do like this. And in response, we send result. And here we need to add a sync because here we're using await. Like this. What is wrong here? Forgot. Oh my god, forgot to add an arrow. What do you want to tell me? To do like this. Model. Well, model. I was struggling a bit with import export, but because it's not common for me to use import and export in ES6, I prefer require and module export. But I find out to use an export, we need export default and to define our model here. And to import it, we just import book from node.js. Let's try to check what is going on with this thing. Simply to do it, we're gonna use Postman. It's an extension. You can download it as extension for Google Chrome or just download it as an app. Let's wait while it's running. And we are gonna check out how our post is working. To do this, we're gonna create. And now in Postman, we're gonna take a look how our app is working. We just check our GET request. As you can see here, we retrieve the same data as in browser. But to do a post, we need to define our body. And for this, we're gonna choose post here. Then we need to define the body for our request. And here we need to choose JSON, application JSON. It's gonna be content type. And here we need to set title, the same thing as we did in Schema. So as you can see, title, author, and year. So author and year. Make sure that property in curly brackets, because it's important for JSON type. Book 1, admin. Let's check the request. why gets a bad request. Need to check and type application JSON. I simply just forget to add few things. Usually why we retrieve here and bad request, it's because we need to add a few middlewares to use. One of them is express URL encoded and param extended should be true. It need to parse the body, and another thing that we need here is express JSON. Make sure that you're using the latest version of Express, or you could have some problems with it. And here let's check out, and as you can see, the record was added. Especially take a look on this one, that Mongoose automatically adding ID to each of your record. And if you want to handle it by yourself, you need to do it, but I think Mongoose do it fine. And right now we can check on our cluster. We can check collections, and we will see our newly added book. Also, we're gonna update here our get method, and here we're gonna create books constant, and we'll do a wait, use our schema and find. This will need to find all your, these methods have some filters, we'll see them later, but this is using to find all your records, and here we return our books. Oh, and if we check get method, as you can see, one book here, and also one book here. Let's add one more record, book 2 2020, and here we retrieve it. So we halfway through this topic. We're gonna add few more methods and update a bit our APIs. Let's take a look how to do it. So another one important thing to minimize our MGS so it looks more cleaner and simpler. To do it, we're gonna create another folder here, routers. Router will be enough, and also add our file books.js. In this file, to this file, we're gonna move all our endpoints related to books, and for this we're gonna need to copy this here, but without Mongoose. Also, we're gonna need here a router. For this we just initialize is by this and equal express dot router. By this we create we call a function router, and under this it's gonna be we're gonna use it instead of app. We cut this from this from this. Nice, nice. And here instead of app we're gonna use router. Why you doing this to me? And here router 2. And the last thing that we're doing here, it's we need to export default and router of like this. And in app.js we don't need any more book. Here we need import books router from router books.js. Also need to not forget to update this. We do books router, and then simply we need to define the route for this new router, and we're gonna use middlewares app use, and the path for our books API is gonna be books, and here we define it like this. And do not forget to update this route. This what is wrong with you again? Forget to add. Yes, books.js. I'm gonna be crazy probably. And let's check if it's everything is okay. Yes, and this is working. Let's add one more book. 21. And yeah, seems we're fine. It's a good way to manage our files, because it's easier to just look at smaller part instead of a huge one. Let's continue. Going to add few more cool things here. One of them is gonna be to search, to be able to find out your record by ID. To do it, we're gonna create another GET request. Let's move it here. And a parameter to find it is gonna be in URL. We set it to ID. Here we provide a sync, and also using the same things as before, but with one main difference, that we're gonna search by this ID. To retrieve it, we need first of all define a variable, and here we're gonna do await and use our model book, and then we do find by ID. It's a default method in Mongoose, and here we pass a parameter. So this is a params. To do it, our request has a property params, and here we set ID, and then in request send we put book like this, let's check out how it's working. We simply pass here something on. And book. No, I don't know what is wrong with it. Can't search like this. Let's try through Postman. Post get books. Still. Router get ID. Day of fails. Response sent. We need to use. And here, after searching, you can see by ID. Let's find our third book. Book 3 looks fine. In Postman, the same thing. Pretty. Yeah, I want to use pretty. Okay, let's try to do and why are you doing this router? To update our record, we need to use a type of request put. Here we use the same ID. First thing that we need to do is to find our record, then to update it and send a request with it. So to do it, we need to provide an ID, then async. So as you can see, it's really easy to write a simple API, but when you, of course, like have some experience with it, for me at first, not first, second time, it's a bit difficult to do, but in general, it should be fine on start time, probably, once you get used to it. So let's check that actually we can copy this, because we need to do an update. We need a body for our request. Then we're gonna define a new book using the same things as before. Request body. And then we need to have a result of action, await book, find by ID and update. And here we pass few parameters. First argument is our request params ID. The third one is our body. I think we don't need this. Yeah. The third thing will be request body. Second, not third. And the third argument is an options. And here I'm gonna pass new true to see the result of our actions. And once we're done with it, we need to do response, send, and result. Like this. Let's check. We are Postman, so we need our post request to make it put. Here we need to provide our ID. Let's check. Let's take book2 ID like this. And here we're gonna change the author, second admin, and the year to 19. And book 3, second admin, 19th year. We updated this one. As you can see, it's working perfectly. And the last one request is gonna be delete. It's almost like find by ID, but with some difference. The type of request is gonna be delete, as you might know. The argument is gonna be the parameter still ID. The one change that we have, it's find by ID and delete. And that's it. Which one we're gonna delete? Let's delete the first one. Do it, we change the type of request. Here, change the ID, and here. And you can see which record we deleted. We shouldn't have book 1. Yes. Seems we're done with our API. It wasn't easy for me to do this, but I'm glad that we really cool and we did it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please support me, click on subscribe and like button. Also, you could leave a comment with your notes or some information for me. It wasn't easy to do, but I hope the next time it would be easier. Also, enjoy the video. See you next time. Bye bye.